Okay. Are prohibited in the city council chambers during meetings at the city council. I call this meeting to order. The invocation will be by the Reverend Clark Nasiban. It's my text man.
Pray with me. Father, I just thank you for your mercy and your grace. I thank you for a city like Alpine for us to live in. And I also just thank you, Father, for these who serve on our council and give up many hours to serve our city. And I just pray, Father, that tonight they will have wisdom from you, that they will look to you for guidance and direction in the decisions that they make to help this city to continue to be the kind of city that we want to live in. We thank you for this, and we just pray your blessings on each one. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Mayor, we do have a quorum with an excuse absence from Counselor Fitzgerald. Notice was posted at 3 p.m. on May 10th, 2018.
Okay, thank you very much. And how's he doing?
As of this morning, we're still trying to work on it. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we do have some presentations and recognitions today. And first of all, we're going to start with happy birthday to the following employees. Captain Darrell Lozoya. I don't know if he's in, he might be working. Patricia McWilliams, better known as Patsy. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Andrew Chavez. Happy birthday, Andrew. And Megan Akron Entrum. Happy birthday. And also we have some employee certification of appreciation awards to hand out. So I've got quite a few.
You want me to call them out?
Yeah, why don't you do that, please?
Michael Macias, Ruben Jurado,
You guys would come forward and I'll hand them out to you.
Lance Mansfield, Valerie Catani, Alonso Baeza, Israel Perez,
Exactly.
Kelly Aquiles, Patsy McWilliams, Andrew
Ruben.
Chavez, Johnny Galvan, Melissa Cobo, and Alan Melvin.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Why don't you guys line up over here in front of the table?
And I'm going to read one of them and then I'll just hand them out because it'll be a long, drawn process by reading every one of them. Certificate of appreciation. The certificate is presented to this one being to Megan, Director of Finance, in appreciation for your time and dedication to the city of Alpine and your fellow employees. Signed first day of May 2018, and Rich Ramos, Mayor of the City of Alpine. Okay. It's in the middle. Okay. Okay. So you all like Got it?
Got it?
Okay, so now let me hand these certificates. Congratulations. Lance Mansfield. There you go, sir. Thank you very much for your work. Thank you. City manager took it upon herself last week to make these awards where we're recognizing our employees for the great work they do. Oftentimes, yes, ma'am. Would you like to say something?
This is for their
For the what?
efforts for the policy.
Oh, okay.
For putting the policy, for working on the employee policy.
Okay.
So this was done through the month of April.
Yeah, but that was
March and April.
that was part of the appreciation for that them also.
No, it's-
Come with the policy. Okay, my mistake.
These are extra special guys.
Yeah, these are they set policies, and what's being done. these folks participate in setting up policy for other employees and themselves. And it's a means to make their job easier and also to enhance the city of Alpine. So we need to thank these folks for participating because they're the ones out in the field. They're the ones that have a question or issues, but they also have a solution. So this is a way to do it, is to recognize them and have them participate. And we're going to be asking probably the other employees also to contribute their ideas. Okay, Valerie. Congratulations. Thank you. Alfonso Baeza. Thank you much. Israel Perez. Yes. Thank you, sir. Kelly.
Mayor.
Thank you very much. Etsy. Thank you very much, man. Andrew Chavez. Johnny Galvan. Thank you, sir. Ellen Melvin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Melissa Cobos. Melissa.
Mayor, Ruben showed up. This is behind you.
Okay. Ruben. Thank you very much, sir. Let's give them all a hand. Participate in the show. And this is also a proclamation of Law Enforcement Week. So if you see a law enforcement, APD, sheriff, or any law enforcement officer, be sure to thank them. Tell you appreciate the hard work they do.
You should have a proclamation in your mayor.
I don't have it in here.
Right after the certificates.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read. Whereas the city of Alpine wishes to recognize Law Enforcement Week 2018 and to honor service and sacrifice for those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our community and safeguarding our democracy. And whereas there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the city of Alpine and all law enforcement officers. And whereas some 60,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 16,000 injuries. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1792, over 19,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas the names of those dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Office Memorial in Washington, D.C. And whereas May 15, 2018 is designated as Law Enforcement Memorial in honor of all fallen officers and the family. Now, therefore, I, Andres Ramos, as mayor of the city of Alpine, we hereby proclaim the week of May 13, 2018 as Law Enforcement Memorial Week. In witness thereof, I set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Alpine to be affixed here to this May 15th day of May 2018. Andres Ramos, mayor. So, thank you, law enforcement officers. Thank you. And we'll go on to city manager report.
City mayor's report.
City manager. None?
None. I have none either.
I did.
Mr. Hernandez.
Oh, Mr. Hernandez. Where's Mr. Hernandez? And I need to recognize Mr. Hernandez. He is an economic development manager. He'd be based out of Marfa, Texas, correct? And he's here. We've long needed an officer, a manager out here for economic development. And I just gave him an earful the last 15 minutes before the meeting. So we're on a good start there. Please stand, sir, and say a little something about yourself.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, and everyone present tonight. As Mayor Ramos said, my name is Daniel Hernandez, and I have recently been hired as the Economic Development Coordinator for the rural counties of the Rio Grande Council of Governments. They are a multi-government organization that seek to improve cooperation and intergovernmental support between member governments in El Paso, Hudspeth, Culberson, Jeff Davis, Presidio, and Brewster counties in Texas, as well as Doña Ana County in New Mexico. My position will be based in Marfa, and I'll be working solely with the rural counties in the COGS territory. Part of my position will be to maintain and update the comprehensive economic development strategy for the COG, which they have and maintain for all of the member governments to use, whether it be for grant applications or to further study areas that they feel that are important, as well as to further cooperation between the member governments and see where the gaps are in economic development for funding, whether it be from the state, the feds, or something that we can do more locally. So our doors are always open to our member governments. I appreciate you letting me present this evening, and I look forward to working with the city of Alpine, as well as the rest of the member governments in the COGS territory to further improve economic development in the region, and happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome on board. Question. I know you're tied in with Patricia over at SBDC. You might share with everyone how that relationship works.
Sure, absolutely. So they are a division of the Small Business Administration, as you all know. We are actually being funded through grant funds right now through the Texas Department of Agriculture, as well as through the Economic Development Administration. And so through those grant funds, we're sort of a separate entity through the Rio Grande Council of Governments, but we will definitely work with the Small Business Administration, as well as any other organizations that seek to further economic development in the region. And so, part of me as coming on recently is going to be setting up with meetings such as Patricia and Heather Harrell over at the SBDC, as well as anybody else who would like to discuss economic development and growth in the region. Thank you, Councilor. Thank you very much.
Long overdue. Okay, City Manager, you have none, correct?
Have none. However, we do have some city staff updates. The March 2018 monthly revenue expense report and the April 2018 monthly revenue expense report.
Okay.
Okay, so for the month of March, that would be our halfway through the year. We've already completed 6 months out of the 12. Financially, we're looking good. I know the previous meetings I focus on kind of we need to be careful, we need to watch. So halfway through the year, I kind of take a step back, and we are doing good, even though we're not bringing in the revenue for some of the departments like we thought we would, or maybe the expenses are a little higher. But overall, the city is within their budget, and we've got a strong revenue source right now. So I'm gonna try and summarize it up a little bit more. So for the sales tax for the month of March, we increased by 3%. We brought in $133,708.97 over last year at this time. For the hotel motel, which is one of the ones I focus on the most, for the month of March, we decreased by 16% over last year. And as we've discussed every basically meeting that we present the reports, we don't have the influence of the pipeline. So the hotels don't have that definite income coming in, but we're still doing fairly well because we haven't exceeded all of our expenditures as well. So even though we've decreased, we still are doing healthy. So for the general fund for the month of March, the total revenues came out to $180,833. For the total expenditures, it was $269,710. Most of our revenue, for those of you who don't know, is from sales tax and property tax. Property tax, of course, we collect mainly between the months of November and February. So we are coming off the downward spiral of that. So we don't see as much revenue coming in because we collected a majority of it the prior month. For the water, solid waste, and sanitation departments, we collected $357,419 in revenues, and the expenditures was $253,752. For the airport fund, for the month of March, the revenues totaled $42,471, 100% in fuel sales for the month of March. The expenditures was $30,518. For the hotel motel funds, the revenue was $16,012, and the expenditures totaled $8,679. As we get into the summer months, the expenditures for the hotel motel will increase because we have a lot of summer activities that the city does fund, including Viva Big Ben. We're going to do the Barrio. I believe we help out with 4th of July. So there's several things that come up during the summer months. The gas department brought in $178,418 and had an expenditure of $148,072. Interest and sinking for the month of March, we brought in $3,981, and there are no expenditures. For those of you who don't know, the INS is paid twice a year. Our next payment, which is our debt, our next payment isn't until the beginning of September. So I ran through that one really fast. If you have any questions over March.
Thank you very much.
I have April.
Okay, I thought you were done with it. That's okay. I apologize.
So in April, our sales tax decreased by 14% to $113,638. Our hotel motel, and this is of course an obvious one if you're looking at the chart. Our hotel motel tax increased by 132%. Quarterly payments are typically, paid after the quarter. So April is a big one to bring in the money for January, February, March. Most of our hotels do pay quarterly. We only have a handful that pay monthly. So every quarter, the month following, you'll see a big difference in the hotel funds. The general fund revenues for the month of April, we brought in $386,425. The huge increase over the last month was our administrative and franchise fees. Those were all brought in. Our expenditures for the month of April for the general fund was $313,636. For the water, solid waste, and sanitation, revenues was $378,038. The expenditures was $385,389. We do expect to see expenditures go up for the water department over the next few months. As most of you are aware, they've had a few leaks that they've had to address. That is an expense to the city. So we do foresee some of their equipment and inventory increasing as well as their personnel time. The airport revenue for the month of April was $49,715, and their expenditures was $32,599. For hotel motel funds, the expense was $133,397, and the revenue was The revenue was $133,397, and the expense was $25,754. For the gas department, the revenues for the month of April were $148,129, and their expenditures was $149,071. And for the interest and sinking, there are no expenditures, and the revenue brought in was $3,949. And I just wanted to point out for interest and sinking, we've already collected 99% of what we budgeted. So it's actually really good. And we're at 98% for our property tax.
The decrease in the gas, that was due to the real mild winter we had.
Yes. So this year's, the gas department, they had a really, really, really warm winter. They didn't utilize as much gas as predicted. The warmer it gets, the less people need to heat their houses. But the warmer it gets, the more people need to water their grass.
That's right. And it needs a lot of water. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so just a couple things. So hot funding looks like the worry seems to be getting us back on track. We got, 60% of the year done, but 63% of the revenue expected. So you feel a little more comfortable about that?
Feeling more comfortable. I'll let you know more in August.
Yeah, I know.
We have some big expenditures.
On gas revenue, so we're 75% of the budget for revenue for the year, 49% of the expenditures. What's the summer tend to look like from the gas revenue side?
It decreases significantly.
So
During the summer months, we may hit the 25%. I predict we'll be a little short, about 10%. But overall, it's their winter months that make up their revenue, just like the water, it's their summer months that give them theirs.
Third question, property tax. So we got some collections due out there. I presume the firm we hired or talked about in the last city council meeting is going to work.
As far as I am, the last email I got from the tax office said
Okay,
yes.
so they'll kick in June 1st. Okay, good. Sales tax revenue looks on track.
Yes.
And the only one that looks down, but that's streets. We're kind of half of what we expect to spend this far. I know we got some more opportunities to work there. Although it looks like they're going to have to do some more paving on the water leak on the weekend.
Our street department will be utilized for a lot of paving.
No, this is, your reports are terrific.
I have a question. What were the 2 months that you said that you collect or that you pay for the interest and CPF fund? You said September. What was the other month?
We make our payments at the end of February for the March 1st, and we make them at the end of August for the September 1st deadlines. Okay.
I want you for my budget at the house, okay?
No, because she'll tell you can't spend
You
that.
can't.
You need it.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess I wouldn't leave the house without she was my budget.
You or you just want it.
Great job. Thank you very much. And we'll move to public hearings. We have none. Consent agenda, city manager.
Mayor, on the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes from city council meeting on May 1st, 2018 and May 8th, 2018.
Okay. I will entertain.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the May 8th minutes, but I have one comment for the May 1st minutes, so I'd like to pull that out.
Okay. So you're gonna make a motion?
So the motion is to approve the minutes for the May 8th.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you. Now, back to May 1.
So if we look at May 1st, just one minor correction, and it is on item 10, discussing some of the actions for the annual law enforcement officer of the year. I think the vote was 3-2 as listed as 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that's just that correction that I propose. Once that typo is fixed, then I propose we approve the minutes for the May 1st meeting.
What was it? What's what was here?
I know it was, should
What's
be,
his absence?
he was here as well, yes. Yeah, so the other item was Councilor Fitz was here on.
On the comments?
Yeah, under comments, so that was the 12th as well. So those are the two typos.
Okay.
Okay, so
Motion's made.
yes, motion's made.
Second. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not on
Or-
that. I'm not listed in here either.
Okay, we need a second first and then,
Okay, I'll second.
okay, now, any discussion? The floor is yours.
That's it.
On third, Counselor. 12.
12 on both pages.
Oh,
She was incognito, but she was.
What's here?
Yes.
Make it big, please. What? What's here?
okay, I'll make those corrections.
So,
Yeah, I left her out.
make that correction.
Yes, sir.
So motion been made, seconded, and any more discussion?
Who's second then? I think Counselor Curry.
Council Kerr. So, all those in favor? Raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you with the correction. Okay. And now we'll move to item number 7, information discussion items. And these are the core report, city manager.
Mayor, first up, we have municipal court. Roger Sanford. Don't see him present. Next, we have the quarterly report for planning and zoning by Chair Carl Fleming. Do you have stuff on your?
Yeah, Carl Fleming, Ward 5, also chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Each of you have a thing. There is one mistake on it. I'm not the world's best typist, so I'll change it when we get to it. Number one, the planning and zoning has been working to finish up the changes since the 2013 official zoning map was approved. It would help if planning, zoning, related items such as minutes, agendas, and permit requests could be held in the area easily accessed over a 5-year period to expedite review of the past information. Right now, I've got to go to the past agendas that only go to 2013 right now. And as I understand it, the stuff is all boxed up at the end of the year and taken over to a warehouse. And it's not easily accessible. And I don't keep everything in an orderly fashion, unfortunately. So it appears that the discussion segments of the planning zoning minutes will not be retained, but only the action items taken in the future. Cynthia mentioned this, and it makes it a little more difficult to find out what we did and what we discussed on some things and what we came up with if we don't hold those.
So is there a legal records requirement for keeping them, or how does that work?
I don't know.
The state has a retention schedule for all those documentation. So I'm sure the documents are here somewhere. They're just not easily accessible. They're probably in the vault. So I think as we tweak our website, we may be able to upload more of that information on the website as opposed to having to pull it in.
Okay. Now, the other thing are ordinances call for the city secretary to maintain every time a decision is made by planning and zoning and approved by the city council for a zoning change, to mark it on the current map and then reference it on a daily basis. But we've had several city secretaries in the past. We even lost the map for a while. So hopefully we can get that reinstituted so that when the city council approves or disapproves or basically approves a planning and zoning recommendation, that it gets maybe a pinprick on a map and a number on it, and then a map or running the list of those things kept up. It would make it a lot easier in 5 years from now when we go to another map to have those things all available and at least make sure they're all updated in the ordinances, because that's eventually where they're supposed to go. Okay, number 2, the city recently sent out 6 requests for changes in zoning. 1 was approved, 3 were not approved, and 2 have yet to report. One of the ones that got sent out was not correct, and we're going to have to live with not correct unless we go back and rectify that. The city will have to develop a request for proposals since the Rio Grande Council of Government, COG, will not allow their 9/11 employees to utilize the COG printer, computer, or his time to update our zoning map. So the time frame of completion of hopefully by the end of the year to remain in this 5-year cycle. I'll start trying to cobble together some stuff so that some parameters can be met for our needs. But I am not an expert in requests for proposals. So I'll try to come up with what I can. And then Jessica will have to carry it from there.
So is this a case of potentially using a college intern from Solos who's got the skills, or has to be a specific way?
Well, it needs to be someone that is experienced with GIS mapping and AutoCAD to be able to put our maps together and then update them. I think one of the previous assistant city managers tried to use the interns from SOLAS, but because they're only there for a certain amount of time and limited on hours, I think they start one semester, and then when the next group comes in the next semester, they pretty much have to start over anyways, and they just really didn't get anywhere.
You know, Dave Gibson, I'll be happy to introduce you to who runs computer science and so on. They're just maybe not during some time.
And I think Jay was working with them on the water maps, and they ran into the same problem.
Now, as I understand it, Mr. Griffith could possibly make a proposal for his off-duty time, but we would have to have, I think Solow's, the printing department now has a large printer, I think, according to Dr. Branson.
We have a quote to replace the one that's at.
We got ours fixed?
No, but we have a quote to get a new one. We just a little bit.
But we still don't have the software to do the updating on
Not
our.
to do the updating, but to do the printer. We would be able to print, we just wouldn't be able to update.
There is an outside possibility. I don't know what the status of the GIS situation is at Bigfoot National Park, but they used to have a GIS specialist. So I don't know, but I'll check. Number 4, completion of the revised historic district map is progressing. The proposed new district will comprise the Alpine Historic Business District with mention of the historic walking and driving tour map, to have that incorporated somehow so that, because, and I think the old historic district should just probably be scrapped. It's too big and it has not been enforced one bit. Yes, sir.
I think a couple of meetings back during one of the Corridor 67 meetings, I mentioned that the availability of the revised historic map for possible review or comment or something like that.
The old historic map is still in effect, but it has not been enforced a bit, and it's very large, and it is over-encompassing, I think. In fact, we've had at least one city council member resign over it because he tried to enforce something and it wasn't basically enforceable. We had a hue and cry from a lot of developers here in town. But hopefully we can get that narrowed down some and get something that's livable with and will work. Also, the new signs have been approved or are in the mill for the walking tour. And hopefully they'll go up within the next couple of months or so. As an aside, a permit request was recently voted down because of the question of the gallop. The current ordinances make no reference to the question of spot zone, but there is apparently a state statute regarding legality of spot zone. I have yet to locate the statute. Maybe the city lawyer can help me out with a hard copy so that we can include that in the ordinance section. Because if it is illegal to issue a permit for spot zoning, which may or may not be, I know there's a lot of gray area in spot zoning, but we need to have that available because I recall on at least one occasion the city council approved spot zoning that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended them not be approved. So it's the thing is still in existence.
Mayor, if I may. Yes, ma'am. So I want to clarify that. So the permit request was not a building permit that was the request that was submitted. It was a request for a rezone. And it was from a C1 to a C2 in an area that was all zoned C1, even though there were some legal non-conforming properties that met C2. The process to allow this one person to rezone that one lot falls into that area of possible spot zoning. So at the planning and zoning meeting, did address it with the commission that this would be considered spot zoning, and that we needed to go about through a different process. Either, well, I'm familiar with the term as special use permit, which is basically a permit that allows someone to build out of the zoning requirements for that one use. Construction has to be done within a certain amount of time and completed within a certain amount of time, and it's not transferable. So if the project doesn't get finished, that person can't just say, yeah, it's a C2 and you can do it. It reverts back to a C1. So he never actually submitted a building permit application. It was just a request for the rezoning. I have discussed that with the city attorney. Your ordinance refers to them as conditional use permits. And so we're now going through that process, and it will be presented to planning and zoning this coming month as a conditional use permit request, and then to council for approval. There's no objection to it. It's just simply the mechanism that was being used to address the zoning compliance for that.
So he just wanted to rezone the planning as far as putting the building
Yeah,
or the structure.
He had not submitted any plans or any other documentation for the actual construction. He was just addressing at the time the zoning.
So given there are some non-compliances, there's some C2s already there, because I've been in the area. Why wouldn't we just go out to all those property owners and say, hey, can you make it C2? It gets out of the spot zoning, it gets out of conditional use.
Well, the process to rezone that is a little different when you're talking about a whole area as opposed to a request. As the city, it's a little bit more detailed when you're rezoning that area when it comes to public hearings and notifications and postings and things like that. So it's something that still could be done. However, the owner needed it done a lot quicker, and to be able to meet kind of his timeline, it's easier to do it as a conditional use permit and then address the area as a whole.
Okay, because that'd be my view is if the conditional use.
Right.
Right, this is basically an extension of 2 blocks from C2 to take in C1. In other words, at C1, it's just an extension of 2 blocks, basically. And there's only 6 owners involved, and 2 of the owners. So I'm looking at that, and we'll go on with that.
Yeah, particularly since one is in violation of being a C2 and a C1.
Right. So there's one that's pre-existing, your last zoning update, and then there's one that was completely constructed without any approval at all. So one that's totally non-compliant and one that's just legal non-compliant.
And you got a guy trying to do the right thing, so.
The back half of the block.
Okay, good. So that's good strategy.
Okay, the city needs to develop a request for proposals for a comprehensive plan. It's near that thing. For the city of Alpine, to my knowledge, there's none in existence. There has been some starts and stops of some planning documents, but as far as I know, the city has never approved a comprehensive plan. So it's something that's going to have to be looked at sooner rather than later, because a lot of our ordinances relate back to the existence of a comprehensive plan.
It is if you want it to be.
It
is if you want it to be. A comprehensive plan is going to run the city probably between $250,000 to $300,000.
I know, but we got lots of studies to go. We got roads, we got comprehensive plan. 5 years, what the list we got already.
Well, and the thing with the comprehensive plan, you probably budget it over a 2-year period because it usually takes 18 months to complete. But in the end, if you end up with the Unified Development Code, revisions to your codes and standards, you're at least you're set for the next 30 years.
So the comprehensive plan could be updated every 5 years, basically, to become a workable, living document that actually be added to yearly. But I think the city needs to bite the bullet at some point. And let's get it done.
It's a really big.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Carl. Thanks for continuing to hang in there.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
When all you would do is throw your rocks.
Next up, we have the quarterly report for the Alpine Volunteer Fire Department by Fire Chief Mark Scott.
And Mike Scudder.
Mike Scudder, Administrative Chief of the Department. Good evening. I have the quarterly report for January, February, and March, and also, did you get the poll for last year, 2017? Did you get that on there? It was just that. Okay. Yeah, it was on the spreadsheet, and I noticed when I printed it up, it had the tabs, and that came up. So I guess we'll have. I'll leave a copy here. I'll just kind of go that. For the first quarter of 2018, for January, we had a total of 11 calls. 2 of the calls were structure fires, 2 brush fires, 1 vehicle fire, 5 man-car lift assist, 1 that's classified as other. And I'm going to update this. This was a spreadsheet that came from somewhere else. I'd like to have it where it's more specific on the others. These are usually like electrical fires or something that wasn't a primary type fire. But on the next report, I'm going to have it a little bit more specific for the items. We had no false alarms. Of the 11 fire calls for January, 6 were in the city limits and 5 were outside of the city limits. For February, we had 10 calls. There were 3 brush fires, 1 vehicle fire, 2 vehicle rescue or extrications, 4 man-car assists, and of those, 6 were in the city limits, 4 were outside the city limit. For March, we had 3 calls. We had 1 brush fire and 2 man-car assists, 2 in the city limit, and 1 for outside the city limit. Let's see. I'll just kind of briefly go over this. For 2017, we had a total of 84 calls. 13 were structure fires, 20 were brush fires, 4 were vehicle fires, 8 were vehicle rescue, 3 dumpster fires, 20 that were manpower, 15 that were other fires, and those were also like electrical or if it was vegetation or some other type of fire. And we had 1 false alarm. And that doesn't, I don't have the breakdown specifically on this, but historically it's been like 40, 48, 52%, almost half and half for city to county for fires. And that's all I have on those reports.
Mike, what's a manpower lift assist?
Those are to assist EMS with lifting. If we have somebody in an upstairs, 2nd floor, or if it's somebody that's in an area that, like in a back room that we can't get to, we get assistance to move the person so that it's just not 2 EMS people trying to move somebody. Or if we have a bariatric assist or something like that.
I want to thank the chief and the volunteer fire department. They did an outstanding job down south for that fire. Oftentimes they don't, get recognized or anything like that. But we're getting a group together to have a thank you for all the volunteer fire departments that were involved in that, to show you that we appreciate your efforts out there. It's a tough job, and you get called at all hours of the night and day. So I want to thank you for that, sir. Fantastic job.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
I would also like to thank the volunteer fire department for helping us out with that water leak last week. We weren't able to get the water under control coming out of the pipe and get the valves cut off, and if it hadn't been for them coming out, we'd probably still be out there neck high in water.
Yeah, and that was an effort by a lot of city departments that participated out there. The fire departments out there, city streets, the water departments, every department, gas department, they're out there trying to lend a hand. So we all worked in unity to get the job done for the city. So thank you very much, sir, again.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, next we have the quarterly report for the Alpine Downtown Association by President Jim Street.
Okay, thank you. We're about 2 years ago when we got started. We got our first notice on our 501c3 about a year ago, and just recently got our final documentation. So we're totally official and ready to go. We've been mainly doing events, when we first got started, we said, we're not an event organization, but the Heart of Alpine events have a specific purpose in mind to draw business to people in downtown in the evenings. They're like, businesses stay open late and we have entertainment and other things to cause people to come to town. Our first plan was to have 4 a year, and we really wore out 2 committees. We decided that 2 a year is probably more realistic. Our most successful to date have been the last 2. The December parade of lights and lighting the Christmas tree that had been a pilot project. They went kaput about 3 years ago. The chamber took it over the next year. And then last year, the chamber and the Downtown Association worked together, and it was a very successful event. Our next Heart of Alpine event was the Heart of the Arts in February, and that also was very successful. We had 5 music venues that evening, including Gerhard Krauss, world-known jazz guitarist, played at the Holland with 2 sides. We had Rick Breeze with his group of us at the Taste and See, and we had the Swiss at the Nancy Whitlock's Gallery. Then we had Grupo Vega, they were wandering around playing. And then Tom Curry opened his gallery for jam session. So it was a really nice evening. A lot of people came, we advertised, we did use hot money for this. We advertised mostly in the middle of the Odessa area. We had a lot of people from that area. They said they'd seen the ads. Or what was interesting to me, a lot of them said, "Oh, my friend told me," which means that's another thing that when you see an ad, that's not just the guy reading the ad, it's his friends and others that you told about. So that's something that advertising does. So that was a successful event. Our next event will be June 23rd. We'll revise the Fiesta del Sol, which I'm told was a pretty big party here a few years ago. It'll be, and one of our problems has been driving people to Murphy Street. A lot of the Holland businesses had a lot of traffic, but not a lot of traffic across the tracks to Murphy. We very much want Murphy Street to be part of downtown. And so this will be on Murphy Street on June 23rd. It'll be Fiesta del Sol. We'll have the usual booths and entertainment, and music, and dancing and so forth. And we'll have something unique that will drive people into businesses, scavenger hunt. And participating businesses can have a clue or something in their store, and to win the scavenger hunt, you have to get clues from all the businesses. And of course, the business person can put a coupon or something else and drive future sales that way. So we look forward to that. But we're more than events, as I said. We have several other things. The most visible is the Railroad Park. We have our Glenn here who single-handedly saved Amtrak and is very active. And we got some work done on the depot, and she was able to get a contractor to paint it. But she was able to arrange a contractor to paint the depot, and so that's something that we'll be cutting. About 6. There are about 6 or 7 different organizations working on the park. It's a city adopted spot project, and but we've agreed to keep the funds, and so we're sort of kind of the driving force behind that. So we have a committee for the US 67 project. 3 of us are on the committee. Several of us have been to meetings. We did that last night over here. We've been working in a quiet zone, and there's not a whole lot of enthusiasm because it's been so long and it's been through so many iterations. But then Brady McAtee with the Hotel asked to speak to us, and he's been doing a lot of research on it. And so maybe the Holland can help us with the funding, which is going to be the big argument on that one. So the tax freeze, which we proposed to you, and asked me to encourage some businesses, could they use it? And the chamber put out a questionnaire, and we got 0 response. So I got on the phone and made a few calls, and a very informal survey. But it's not half and half. People have said, "Yeah, I'd like to have like to have that. And others who said, and I haven't even thought of this, but if I'm going to invest $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in my business, it's because I want my business better and bigger and attract more people, so I'll make more money. And no, I don't want the city to help me 100%. So, so I don't know how I feel about it really. It's something we'll have some more discussions on, I'm sure. So, but in the meantime, several new businesses have sprung up, and I don't know if we pat ourselves on the back and take credit for it or not, but probably the most successful is Tasted Sea Bakery. She's doing a really, really good business over there. It's a really nice operation. The Hotel Ritchie is being renovated. She has opened up some of them, and that's a work in progress. The Mercado was the old Raspa, and Nancy Davila moved down the block from the Brown Dog, and is now operating what she calls the Mercado. The vintage antiques and snazzy things, that was Bill Ivy's emporium, and they've done a really good job in fixing that store up and making it a really nice thing. There's a new Embargo Art Boutique in the old flower shop across from the Payette coffee shop, and it's a beautiful building. She's done a beautiful building. And then the Gallery Mariana next to Front Street Books, that's open recently, so that's the largest gallery. The Black Cat Vintage on 5th Street, and right down from the guitar shop. And we don't know how many others. So we're looking into dues and membership. That's something we're discussing right now. And we're exploring very early, looking into a web page. So these are some of the things we've accomplished. So, any question?
I mean, y'all have done a great job in the 2 years you've been in existence. You know, we drive down Alpine, some of the streets, you see the improvements in the downtown area and the new business that have come in. So great job. And also, there's a lady sitting back there, Gwen Jameson. We need to recognize her.
Yeah, I did.
Because will you please stand up so people can see who you are, please?
Hello, and I am very proud of being part of the 88, and I'm also so grateful that City has got our mulch for Railroad Park and all the activities we need. Alpine is a wonderful place. I'm so happy to live here. I'm really glad to contribute. And I'm really happy that people are still listening. In fact, I'm kind of looking for another year with probably do another the budget on zero on September 30th. 1,000 passengers who use our train station. Thank you, Jim. Thanks.
And she has done a fantastic job at the park, the railroad park, pretty much single-handedly. I'll run by there and I'll see her working with the plants, picked up trash and whatnot. So great job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you all. Bye, Railroad Park. Sit on one of our benches and just enjoy the view.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir. Great job.
Mayor, next we have discuss and provide feedback on important topics for consideration in the city road study. Students?
So, you hand these out, each take one. It's a survey time, and you have copies if you want. There's an extra one if you want. So, just a reminder for all of us, our budget's about $1.1 million each year in order to ensure the longevity of our roads. We have over 1,000 city blocks. Each of the city blocks requires rebuilding every 28 years and seal coat every 7 years. We talked about safety, whether it's a 5th in Saul Ross or 6th, and I mean the whole 9 yards to go work. We've got crosswalks to work, and as we think about it, I know our city manager's been looking at going to contract for engineering services. I thought it worthwhile we do a little survey amongst ourselves to say, what are the priorities? So this is just a simple survey. You can kind of list number 1 as your highest priority and work your way through, and there's plenty of rooms in the blanks. You don't have to finish it right now, but if you would, finish it up, throw it in my box out here, and I'll bring it back for the next meeting so we can share what the results were. I just think it's an important opportunity for us to look and say, what are our priorities? And I left 4 blanks there because, you know, if you all have different ideas, you can add on there. So that was the intent behind this stuff. Okay.
And thanks, job, but also this kind of ties into the 67 master plan.
No question.
Some of these ideas that we have submitted. So, yeah.
And I don't know how familiar the city council is with roundabouts. In the use of roundabouts for traffic flow and speed maintenance, as well as other enhancements that can be done on residential streets that also slow down. They're used to slow down traffic, but they're not as inconvenient as a speed bump. They don't interfere then with emergency response vehicles. And so if you get a chance to kind of Google those types of things, they can be anything from, really large intersection roundabouts. They just did one in the Austin area where two cities kind of joined. It's actually a 5-point roundabout. And I know TxDOT has worked on some that also include roundabouts for train crossings. So if you get a chance to look at those, and that might be a thought that you might want to have the consultant look at those options. Here on some of our longer stretches, it's kind of, throw in these, I think they're called rate lane reducers, and the roundabouts. But if you look up kind of traffic speed reducers, there's all kinds of different images that will come up. A lot of smaller cities are going to these narrower lanes in certain areas because it doesn't really make the lane more narrow, but by adding these things on the sides, it gives the impression, and so traffic automatically slows down. It's just one of those visual things, like, oh, it's getting smaller, but it really won't. And so you may want to add that on there as, to look at optional locations or optimal locations for roundabouts in certain areas. And then we can get rid of some of these yield signs.
Well, I lived in the UK for a year and a half, in Australia for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So roundabouts everywhere, and they're so convenient. But it's a huge culture shift to get people to stop and think about what's a roundabout as opposed to,
Yeah, and I think we've got plenty of right of way on most of our intersections that we could really put in some nice aesthetically pleasing type of roundabout.
And I think they could be a great asset because day in, day out, I see people speeding and not stopping at stop signs, just quick touch and they're gone. Or they take off when you're going on a one way, they come out from the left and continue. So you don't know if they're gonna come across on you, or if you're gonna have to split to the outside lane to make a turn. They just get in there. And this Saturday, I witnessed, I didn't have my cell phone with me, and I saw road rage, and it was unbelievable. In Alpine, I mean, this was really serious. The individual, I don't know who didn't stop at the stop sign here or how, but they almost had a head on. Well, one guy pursued the other vehicle and kept trying to like sideswipe it. And I'm behind, I'm bumping the horn, I kept telling him to calm down. And finally the car turned and then he cut right in front of me. I had to slam on the brakes. And I'm like, man, first time I don't have my cell phone with me. So it's happening here, I guess the climate or the atmosphere of the world nowadays is causing that. But that was a pretty scary situation. Luckily, the guy finally turned off and stopped the pursuit. But just insane. So great idea, sir. Thank you.
Whatever you want to get.
Okay. Any more questions? I had to put my 2 cents for my sorry. Seeing none, let's go ahead and we'll go to the action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. And the first one, we'll go with the city manager.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to do 8 and 9 together in discussion.
Okay.
Item number 8 is discuss, consider, and take action to approve final plans as submitted by FXSA Incorporated for the Texas Department of Agriculture 2017-2018 Texas CDBG contract number 7217000, and discuss and consider and take action to authorize FXSA Inc. to advertise for bids for the Texas Department of Agriculture 2017-2018 Texas CDBG contract number 7217000. Mayor and Council, this is a project that was awarded to the city last year, and it is for the installation of fire hydrants in the southeast part of town. I always have to remember my ward. The southeast part of town. And actually, the consultant is here, and I'll let them give you the details. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll start by introducing us. I'm Daniel Avila, the Chief Operating Officer for Bright Spencer & Associates. Nancy Lopez is one of the engineers that worked on this project, and Serena Harper is our area director for business development and marketing. So I'll let Nancy discuss the project.
Hello everyone, thank you for having us tonight. This project is about installing and furnishing 40 fire hydrants, which 5 of them are being allocated as alternatives to this project. So FXSA would like to ask the City Council to discuss, consider, and take action to approve the final plans as submitted by FXSA.
And you should have the plan layout in your packets.
We also brought this board. We can see the fire hydrants close to the streets Ferguson's, which are the limits, and South Docks, as well as close to the Union Pacific Railroad.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Mayor, I propose that we approve the final plans as submitted by FXSA for the Texas Department of Agriculture 2017-2018 Texas CDBG contract 7217-000, and that we authorize FXSA to advertise for bids for the Texas Department of Agriculture 2017-18 contract segment.
So can we just say Frank Spencer and Associates?
Yes,
It's a
that's
lot
easier.
easier.
Yeah, I read it all. I was trying to read it, I was like,
And I'm gonna give the first and second too. Okay, any discussion? These fire hydrants were long overdue. Thank y'all very much for the great job y'all did, but that's gonna make our council member very happy.
Thank you very much. Can you go through the bid timeline, the bid and contract timeline for them?
Sure. So now that we have the approval from City Council, of course, before we even were able to go out to bid, we have approval of the plans that you did and give us authorization to bid. Now we advertise twice in the local newspaper, and then after that we'll set the bid date. So we will coordinate closely with the city.
Thank you very much, sir. This is not an easy project. I had to sign all kinds of letters also to the different Indian tribes that that were in the area. So I don't know how many I signed. City Secretary gave me a stack of them. So those,
just making sure that we're covered.
yeah, and those went out to make sure that we're not endangering any artifacts or things like that.
And Mayor Jerry Carvajal's here. He's the grant
Yes, sir, Jerry.
administrator on that.
The project gave environmental clearance last week, so it's good. Good. Not committed now.
All right. So we can move forward. Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Put a smile on your face.
I'll just make it tiny.
Okay.
Mayor, the next item is discuss, consider, and take action on the agreement to purchase natural gas from West Texas Gas Incorporated for 2018 through 2021.
Okay.
So in your packets, you have the same information from the last meeting as well as the ordinance that refers to the additional fees that our gas department director, Randy Guzman, was referring to. And it might have confused everyone a little bit. They're on top of the price that's quoted in that. And I also left on the table for you all the updated market fees that we would be charged if it's approved today. We did have some discussion about the EPT.
Yes, about that.
We still haven't resolved it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I propose we take action in agreement to purchase natural gas from West Texas Gas for 2018 through 2019. And the city take action to look at competitive pricing beyond that to determine the appropriate course of action.
There's motion made second. Any discussion?
So,
Yes, sir.
and the rationale for it, if you look at the gas prices that West Texas Gas is proposing, they are at 364, then 370, and 382. When you look at the future spot prices, the current spot price right now is 281. When you look at future prices, they're actually going down 30 cents over the next 3 years, which says to me there's relative stability in the gas market. I know our fuel prices that we put in our car are going up. That's a different product than what's coming out of the ground from gas. So there still is an abundance of gasoline driven by what the future prices are. I think there's an opportunity to look and see, once we get this locked in, we've got a year to sort out and then come back and look and see what the pricing will look like from West Texas, given we've got an alternative gas supplier. It's just going to take some time.
So we'll be locked in. Here, that's so the motion's been made and second. Any more discussion? And we never did find that ETP had a.
They have a tap. I've talked to ETP. They know what the tap is. They have a meter there as well. Challenge is looking at how do you get gas from where Energy Transfer Partners meter is into our gas infrastructure, and that's what's going to get sorted.
Where's that one?
So it's over by in the Sunny Glen area, right off 1703.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
We'll make sure.
Yeah. It wasn't for sure if that was there or not, but okay.
Is it my understanding that now with the motion made, that we need to take action on agreement to purchase of either a 12-month, 24-month, 36-month?
No, the motion is for 12 months.
For 12 months, yeah. And then we can look at different options. Yep. Okay. Any more questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much. Motion carries.
Mayor, next on the agenda is consider and take action to adopt personnel policies. In your packets, you have A through N. The item A, Appendix B, Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration Anti-Drug and Alcohol Misuse Prevention Policy, is an appendix, would be an appendix to our existing policy. It is a little stricter than our regular personnel policies, but it is a guideline requirement for our gas department, and Randy Guzman is here in case you have any questions about it. So it would only apply to employees in the gas department.
You want to take questions now, or you want to go to the rest?
You want me to read the rest? I'll read the rest of them. Okay. So B is under section 1040 onboarding program. C is under section 5065 a social media policy. D, section 5070, use of city property equipment. E, 5072, city-owned vehicles. Item F, under section 5095 is a cell phone policy. G, 6012 is work hours. H, 6016 is compensatory policy, exempt employees. I, 6018 on-call and standby. J, 6061 employee longevity and recognition. K, section 000 professional development and training. L 0001 general training and development. M 0002 certification differential pay. N 0003 tuition reimbursement.
Good, thank you. I think that was longer than B.
Yeah. So B through N are the policies that the group of employees worked on that were recognized earlier, and some of them are still here. And again, I think in the memo I sent to you all that they followed a policy or a process in which they were given our current policy or where we were missing policies. They were given sample policies and then encouraged to look at other cities and their policies and their different rates, and then came back and kind of put them all back together into something that they felt that either clarified, better explained, or justified how our policies currently work.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Mayor, I propose that we adopt the personnel policies as delineated A through N, subject to any addition or edits we may have in discussion.
Yes. Okay, motion's made and it's been second. Any discussion?
Now I ask a question.
All right.
No, it'll be right.
Okay, so Appendix B, Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, Anti-Drug, Alcohol, and Misuse Prevention Policy. On page 29, and this is all my questions deal with the appendices, as our designated employer representative is Randy Barnett, who's the doc, who lives in Philadelphia, but we, the employer, are the city of Alpine. I'm just wondering, how does that work?
That's actually good.
Randy, come up to the mic, please, sir.
That's actually been updated. It's no longer Randy. It's I can't remember her name. But what that is they're sponsoring us through DISA. And we do our drug tests through here with Dr. Sanchez. That gets shipped to them to get processed.
Okay.
So once they process it and they either find it positive or negative, the responses come through DISA via email to us, and we file that paperwork.
Got it.
What is DISA?
That's the one who is offering that.
That's the name of the company.
But yes, DISA Inc. is what they are.
Yeah, and they're in Appendix B, they're in Houston.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Can I continue on?
Mm-hmm.
Appendix C, D, E, F, and G, and H are all blank in terms of the substance abuse professional, the employee assistance program, which in my mind is probably one of the most important. The alcohol testing sites, the medical review officer, the supervisor positions, classifications, the laboratories.
I think what you have there is just a PDF where you can add all that in. The original printout has all that in it.
Okay.
Do you recall who the substance abuse professional is?
I don't have it here with me, so, but I can get y'all a printout. Can I see the front page of what y'all are actually looking at?
I think it's the first one that you sent.
Okay, yes, no, I sent you an updated version because that one was back from 2010. I believe it says at the very bottom the date.
You're right. It says 2010.
Okay, well, the new updated version that we're gonna present to our auditors for the Texas Railroad Commission is actually from 2017, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, no, this is the old version that I had first presented back probably, back in February.
Yeah. So do we want to draw this one or just?
Yeah.
Well, I think I guess what Randy said, it kind of automatically comes in with certain names because of where we're located. The employee assistance program, the contact there is Megan because Megan oversees that department with the insurance. And then again, it just depends on where we're at and the providers that are available that we fill in.
I understand that. I just from a council standpoint, we're being asked to approve the 2017 one. We're given the 2010 one.
And really all that has to happen here is that on the policy for the city of Alpine is that it states that it recognizes this drug and alcohol plan for the gas department.
Yeah.
If you want to put this as an appendix in, that's fine, but that's all it needs to say is that the city of Alpine recognizes the gas department's drug and alcohol because we are mandated through DOT because it is a hazardous material that we deal with. So we have to fall under different regulations. So that's all it has to say.
Okay.
And actually, all those providers change.
No, I understand that. I just, so then can we add in, what's the correct one, Randy?
The 2017.
And can we add in this one that we're approving, the 2017 version?
Yeah, and I can print y'all out a copy for each and every one of y'all that I can put in your box. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. The last time I had, Randy, it says Appendix N, and in part has to do with probably what we're looking at. It's got you know, an item that says city instructions and there's no other pages.
Yeah, no, that it ends right there. Yeah, we don't have anything else in that appendix.
So there's no appendix in it.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's. Not gonna go back. Sorry. We all get the chance to read all this stuff. Okay, now.
That was a small one, that was only 46 pages long.
I know, that was, yeah. That's what happened on the first version we got, Randy, we got every other page, so we had a separate copy. Okay, now, on to onboarding. This is more of a question under section 100. This is under item B. How long is our probationary period?
90 days.
90 days. Okay, because it doesn't say that anywhere. Okay. Item B, city-owned vehicle use. It says all city vehicles are not allowed to be taken home, except we allow police cars to be taken home.
The council approves this policy, that will change. Because there are other departments that take vehicles home, and the employees who reviewed this and looked at how other cities manage their vehicles determined that that's not usual.
So,
It works when you're anyway, but if you're not on call, it works.
you understand, so you're comfortable with this because that's different than the policy that we have right now. Okay, that's.
Unless they're on call, right? Unless they're on call. Under the on-call, they're allowed if they're the on-call person to take the vehicle.
Okay. Okay.
But if they're not on call, it should not be. It should be parked at a city facility in a secure location.
Yes, sir.
What if in the event they're on call? What if in the event that the on-call needs assistance, and that person doesn't have that work vehicle to assist, they're gonna have to use their personal vehicle to go pick up the truck? Who's gonna cover the insurance between the house and the shop? Well,
For what? They're reporting to work.
Yeah.
It's their own insurance. They're reporting to work.
Yeah, because it's just like in the morning when you report 8 to 5, you drive your personal vehicle there. So it's not, that's a personal insurance there. Okay, now if they go in a personal vehicle to a job site, then the city's held and liable on that.
And that's not allowed.
And that's not allowed. So that's why.
I mean, I know we have like real traffic issues here in Alpine. So what we may have to work around those long traffic delays.
Yeah. And pretty much in Alpine, in 7 minutes, you can get to whatever location you're at.
Which means you're just as fast as the fire department.
So that's a change in policy, which is fine. I just, want to make sure. Then on the cell phone policy, we have a process for people reimbursing the city, because I notice it's got personal use. You get how does that work? Is that an administrative burden, or is that really value back to the city?
As far as what?
In terms of getting reimbursement and duty.
Yes, we have.
Okay, that's fine. I looked at that and said, okay, just trying to understand the process here. See, the longevity item on 6016, I just thought was interesting, but longevity plus, which is pretty good for employees. I just was not aware of that.
6061?
6061. 6016.
That's
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 6061. Yes. Yep. And I'm not arguing. I wanted to highlight that. I thought those, that's very good.
So the actual rate of pay stayed the same, and the length of time kind of stayed the same. That one was more of a clarification, is that, how many months you actually have to work here before you're eligible for it.
Okay.
But the actual recognition for the 5, 10, 15, and on years, that was added in there, and that actually was very similar to Fort Stockton, if I remember right.
Okay.
Fort Stockton.
Okay, so they get that just extra money for the year, which is nice. Mm-hmm. And the only other comment I'd make, which is not a correction or whatever, I just thought the tuition reimbursement program was excellent. Okay, I'm done.
I have a question on 6061. If an employee resigns from the city and then comes back, is there a time frame?
And that was one of the clarifications by saying only continuous employment.
Continuous employee, but
It starts all over if they leave.
yeah, so they gotta start from scratch. Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's some, I guess, thinking that, oh, I come back and my seniority, stays the same.
Well, and I like to tell people, there's no such thing as seniority. If you're a senior here, that means you should be working harder.
Had to get older.
You should be working harder, setting the example and mentoring the newer.
Well, but
So I don't like to use seniority because that implies the level of privilege.
Yeah.
However, we do want to recognize those that have been committed to the organization for a long period of time through longevity.
and seniority, I guess, because I came from a different environment. So, yeah. I understand.
I understand.
Okay, good deal. Good policy. These are
Any other questions?
some of these are the employees that came up with it, correct?
Yeah, you want to go ahead? I'll let you. What's it?
Actually, on policy 5072 on your city-owned vehicles, down at the bottom where it says city employees are held to a higher standard than the general public when you're in our company vehicles.
Yep.
I just wanted to just bring that up because that's.
And that's a good point because we set the example. And we got the city level stamps on it also, so people are looking at this.
So if those employees that worked on these policies are still here, can you all stand up again? Just one more time.
Let's give them a hand. These folks also participating in this program. It also gives the employee a sense of ownership in the city, which is great because it gives you more, more loyalty because you actually are part of the participate in this type of setting these rules and whatnot. So.
Does anybody want to make any comments about this process or the policies that you put together?
The only thing I got a question about that we can't take vehicles on. Yeah. I mean, that means we got to leave our house and go to wherever we got the vehicle parked that way. Yeah, these chains will drain as quick as, won't take long. But that means we got to drive all the way, waste more time. We can have a vehicle and drive straight out to it.
But only if you're on call.
Yeah, but what if that one person is on call and he's that way for somebody else?
Well, doesn't that person have to go check it out anyways?
Yeah, but sometimes it takes two.
Yeah. We'll address it department by department. Okay. Because it is kind of different, but the idea is, and what I think when we did the policy thing, somebody checked and they said, well, no, if there's a lead call, the person on call goes, checks it, and then if they need help, then they call for other people to show up. So there really isn't a need for two people in a vehicle to go check it, just one. Okay. Then they'd have to go back.
Yeah, they'll have time, and then they'll use that second person. He's got a call, and then that second person, if you don't have a ride or whatever, then that first person's screwed.
Well, that first person, the second person who doesn't have a car probably shouldn't be a car.
I don't know, I still don't follow. I don't think that's right.
Participate, your transportation to and from the workplace is your responsibility as an employee.
I understand that, but still, once it is, we don't have time to drive somewhere else and then drive out.
So did the department heads did they have any input on this?
There was some discussion with the department heads and how would this impact you, how would it not impact you. A lot of the people from within the departments who work on those policies kind of have their own kind of feedback. And how long does it really take, and is it really detrimental, and what's the pros and cons?
Fort Stockton's bigger than we are, and they basically, when I checked with them, said it does take us 5 minutes to get from point A to point B. It's not like you're in Houston that you're going to take a 35-minute drive to take your.
I'm just curious, since Randy's here, and he was saying how different their department was on policies. Did you have a chance to look at this? Is it comply with any of the stuff, or?
Well, they've got, like I said, it has to. So once this is the general policy, when you get department to department, there may be other things because of different requirements and different levels. And so this is basically your general policy. That's where you start at.
More discussion. Motion.
Already gave you a
Second. Okay, motion been made and there's no more discussion. So all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Anders. Personnel policy. And let's go to item number 12.
Item 12 is discuss, consider, and take action to declare as surplus and to approve the auction list for the city of Alpine. And the items that we would like to have declared as surplus is a 2004 Dodge Durango, 2003 Ford F-250, 1999 Chevy 3/4 ton pickup, 2008 Ford 3/4 ton pickup, 1991 Chevy pickup, 2001 Chevy pickup, 1993 GMC Suburban, 1996 Ford 3/4 ton, 1985 GMC dump truck, 1989 Dodge Ram 350, 1996 Ford Crown Victoria, 2001 Chevy Suburban, 2001 Chevy Suburban, 1996 Ford pickup, 1999 Chevy Fleetside, 1991 Oldsmobile, 1994 Ford half-ton, 1982 Chevy van, 1999 Chevy Silverado, 1975 Chevy water truck, 1988 Ford dump truck, 1988 Ford dump truck, 1984 Ford dump truck, 1994 Ford pickup truck, 1997 Chevy Cavalier.
Quite a few cars that are sitting at 15 acres.
Is that all the inventory?
That's all we're surplusing. There'll be other items at the next agenda for old computer equipment, furniture, things like that. But these are the vehicles that
Right now.
we're ready to let go.
So what does that leave us down at the 15 acre?
It'll be just the vehicles that have been abandoned or picked up by the police department.
Yeah, that place needs to clean up by that common tourists. As we come into beautiful Alpine, and the first thing we see is all these junk items, cars, there, so it's gone. I'm glad you put get rid of them.
We should put a green fence
Yeah,
around
build a
it.
wall.
We should put at least a green screen on it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we declare as surplus and approve the auction list for the city of Alpine for all of the vehicles as listed on the agenda.
Okay, motion's been made, second, any discussion?
I was looking through the photos, and there's several photos in here that aren't on the list, and I was wondering if that's because you're gonna put
Actually,
something
one of them
different.
that you might see in there, Maria, is one of the pressers. That they're gonna keep the pressers.
Mhm.
And the boat,
Yeah.
The boat, and then
Yep.
this oil truck thing, because oil,
that oil truck's gonna be, they're gonna keep it.
okay.
They decided the last minute.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that the boat was picked up because it was on somebody's property that was not supposed to be on there.
No.
And we didn't have any way to track it because it didn't have the VIN number on there.
Okay,
And then
I'm just wondering.
I think there's a trader there that also belongs to Texas Disposal.
So we're selling the boat too?
No, we need it for the. If anybody wants to buy the boat, yeah, it's at 15 acres, so.
Yeah, these we have the serial number on the transom or underneath in the ground someplace or underneath the council. Okay, any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We will motion these vehicles on. Okay. Now, let's move on to city council comments. I think we started with you last time. We'll start with Ms. Curry this time.
Hey, thank you for all the hard work on the new, the updated stuff that we've been looking at.
Okay. Again, as usual, thank you for your participation at tonight's city council meeting. I think the discussion was great. Got some good things done. I'm gonna leave one item, pass down to Councilman Escobedo to mention. But I do have two other comments I'd like to mention. One today, we attended a hotel revenues funds meeting. And I'd like to say thank you to our city manager for sponsoring the workshop. It was very informative. And I certainly have a much grander view of what the hot funds are all about. So, the last thing is, before coming to the city council meeting, I got a call from Teresa She is the outreach advocate for the Big Bend Community Action Committee. And they are in the process of, they need information. They have a Big Bend Needs Assessment Survey for 2018, and it's basically to find out what are the needs out there that they can involve there to support our residents. And the Big Bend Community Action Center are the ones who basically provide transportation for people who can't drive or need assistance with driving to shopping or to the hospital or whatever. And or they also help residents with utility bills and weatherization, especially for those who are low-income households. So she gave me some surveys, and they need information back between now and Friday, so they can incorporate it into their system and try to work out a comprehensive work plan for the coming year. So if any of you are interested in participating in the survey, I've got some extra copies. I was talking to Cynthia, and since she was saying that if you would like to take a survey, fill it up and give it back to Cynthia or myself. Okay.
I would like to invite everybody to our town hall meeting. Little people Ward 2, which is Ramon's, and for Ward 4, which is mine. It's going to be at Our Lady of Peace Parish Hall, which is located at 406 South 6th Street on Thursday, June the 7th at 6 o'clock. And again, thank you for coming.
I've talked about that. It's good. Thanks very much.
Before we close, I've got a recognition, and it wasn't on the agenda, but I think it's very important that I let the folks here know. And this was from the Keep Texas Beautiful Awards and addressed to Betsy. Okay.
We were going to do that in June.
Oh, you're going to do June? Okay, because I had it.
Thing. Okay. But that's why Cynthia pulled it from you.
Oh, okay, okay. So disregard that. Disregard that. Yeah, I had it here. So anyway, I want to thank all the employees again for a great job. Great job y'all did. I want to thank y'all for coming. It was a pretty interesting meeting. You got them up covered. The fire chief, again, your guys, tell them thank you on behalf of the city. Great job, and everybody else. So for this,
I move we adjourn.
not debatable. Please adjourn. Thank y'all very much.